What's up, everybody? We're back again, Men of Order. I got next. We got Big Mike Raider back in the house. Chad's here
Yo.
as usual. We're here. We're going to talk about this Raiders game. I know that the Raiders didn't have a great game last week against the Saints, but Big Mike Raider had a cash out day. And it was funny because I texted him throughout the game. I'm like, dude, you're on fire. You killed all the Alvin Kamara calls, like on point with how
Yeah.
the game was going to go, except for the Raiders side of things. We expected them to put some points on the board and have some offense also. But it was funny because Mike's reply was, I wish I wasn't on fire right now because,
Right.
obviously you're rooting for the Raiders, but you had some great calls. So we had to bring you back either way. We're going
Yeah.
to talk about the Raiders because that shows that he's not being biased when he's making these picks. You know what I mean?
Yep.
His whole game script was about Alvin Kamara dominating the Raiders, but we both thought the Raiders were going to compete also, and it was going to be a back and forth shootout close game.
Yeah.
That's why I had the over. But obviously that didn't happen.
No.
But it proves that Mike is not going to be biased when he's talking about this. He's talking about the Raiders' weaknesses as well as their strengths. So I'm excited to hear what you have to think about this game. If it wasn't must win last week, it's must win.
AG said nobody expected the Raiders to not put up any points. Nobody did.
No.
It was crazy. I think if you went and looked at the exact score bets for that one, it was probably like plus $1 million that the Raiders were going to get shut out.
Right.
That was
right.
crazy.
Yep. So we got without further ado, we got the Raiders -1.5 right now. Traveling to Jacksonville. The Jags favored by or underdogs by 1.5, and the over/under set at 47.5. I'm staying all the way away from this over/under after what the Raiders did last week.
Yeah.
Mike, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, it's one of those things where we're seeing, are they giving the Raiders the benefit of the doubt, or are they giving the Jacksonville Jaguars not enough credit? We got the Jaguars. They've lost 5 straight, but it's been by like one possession each game. So it's not like they're getting blown out. And then on the flip side, the Raiders were doing the same thing until they lost to the Saints. But their offense is just something missing with that offense, and the defense is horrible, especially particularly in the middle of that defense. As far as these two teams go, the Raiders are losing in the points per play differential. They're giving up more points per play than they're actually putting down on offense. It's a minus 0.2. The Jaguars are in the positive with that, and that's one of my indicators where you would see like how good a team is and as a whole. And there's a formula, like I told you guys out there, that it's kind of an indicator on how I would bet or which way I would lean towards. And according to that formula, the Jaguars are supposed to be favored by like 3 points in this game if it was played on a neutral field. They're also at home too. I mean, it's not a raucous crowd in Jacksonville by any means, but they're at home still. The Raiders are traveling the East Coast, and they should be. I don't see how they should be. They should be favored in this game. So if I was to pick a game, I would go. The game is -1.5, so it's basically a pick 'em. I would lean towards Jaguars money line, to be honest with you.
Better value there, yeah.
Yeah, it's a better value. But if you really believe in the Raiders and their offense is kind of waking up and getting things going, then you can go pick the Raiders in a money line. So I would personally go. I mean, you guys know I'm a Raider fan, but I've lost all faith in this team at this point. They're on the road. It's a 10 o'clock start. I'm going Jaguars with this one. Over under. I'm leaning more towards the under just because these two quarterbacks are they are struggling right now, and they're going to have to be relied on because of these two defenses. The one thing that these two defenses do well is stop the run. So if they kind of cancel each other out with stopping the run, these two quarterbacks who have been struggling have to take over the game and have to do things through the air. And can it be done? Yeah, I'm sure, but it hasn't been shown all season with these two teams, with these two quarterbacks.
Yeah,
Well,
to your point, I'll get to you. 1 second, Chad. I'll get to you 1 second, Chad. But to your point, just about the defense struggling all around, I just wanted to mention the Raiders' defense 25th right now in total yards per game allowed, and the Jags, although they haven't been winning games and haven't been, scoring those last fourth quarter points that you need from them, to win the game, they are 9th in total yards per game. So whether they convert that into points is up for grabs, but they're likely to be driving against this Raiders defense. Chad, what you got here?
Well, no, I was just saying, like once you make if they're successful at making one another one dimensional, then you allow the pass rush to be a little more pin their ears back and be aggressive, and then you're asking Derek Carr and Trevor Lawrence to do some things that they're not very comfortable doing, which is thrown under pressure. And you've seen Trevor Lawrence get strip sack fumbled multiple times this year. He's thrown some picks in the red zone. So like that underplay, I think is a good look, because it's not like they're throwing a bunch of pick sixes and giving scooping scores to the defense to make it to where you're going to see a bunch of defensive points scored on the other side. But there could be some stalls in the red zone, some turnovers around midfield, and then teams are giving the ball back and forth like that. You can see something that looks like that Jaguars Texans game from a few weeks back where it was like 6-6 until the very last drive or something like that. So I don't know. It's just it's frustrating too, because I think both of these teams, the Jaguars in a different way, they're young, but I think they expected a little more of maybe some explosiveness mixed in with some mistakes. They haven't had that explosiveness. They've been really just like, it's like they've been in quicksand this year in a lot of ways. And the Raiders too, like that's what's so frustrating. They boat raced the Texans a couple of weeks ago, and Josh Jacobs just ran roughshod, and then he couldn't even get out of the starting block on Sunday against the Saints. So it's just tough.
Yeah, I just want to push back real quick about your Trevor Lawrence point, just because the Raiders, they're actually last in getting sacks right now. Now I know last year they had that amazing, amazing pass rush. It's just not there right now. They're last in getting sacks, and the Jags are 3rd in giving up sacks. So I think that Trevor Lawrence might have some time back there. I agree with your point. If the game goes that way, where the teams get one dimensional, then that changes everything. So I agree with that. But I just wanted to make that known. Trevor Lawrence might have some time back there to nickel and dime a little bit. Jags are 12th in third down percentage offensively. Raiders defense 29th. Like everything points to the Jags having long sustained solid drives here. But we shall see. I do.
Is
like
Trevor Lawrence going to not
also
turn it over in the red zone though? That's the only thing.
The question.
Well, that's he's going to throw a pick in the end zone every week. He seems to do it,
and that's why it's seeming like from everything all three of us have thought about and said so far, it's seeming like the under is probably the best way to play this game if you're going to play a side or the over under. You might be safest with the under. But of course, if all three of us agree on that, then that means it's going to be a shootout. So what player props are we getting into? Mike, who's scoring the first touchdown here?
So first touchdown, it just depends on how you see this game. If the Raiders are trying to atone for what they did last game, they're going to come out hot. They're going to have those scripted plays, first 15 plays that are scripted in most cases. I would say that Josh McDaniels is probably one of the best to do it. Supposedly, I haven't seen it all season, but it's if that is the case, I would like to see Derek Carr throw a touchdown to Devontae Adams, who only had one catch for 3 yards.
Right.
So if I was to lean on that, I would go with Devontae Adams kind of atoning for that, that 1 catch 3 yard game, and Derek Carr having a poor game as well, and throwing the first touchdown, and Devontae Adams with a plus 550 on that one, according to Caesar. So I would go with that. But if you go Jaguars, if you lean towards the Jaguars, there's some interesting ones here. You got Christian Kirk. The Raiders are bad in defending in the middle. You got Christian Kirk for a plus 700. We're bad at covering the tight ends because we're bad covering in the middle. You saw it with Alvin Kamara getting 3 touchdowns, one of which was like one of those angle routes up across the middle. He was just wide open. Nobody was there. You could see something similar like that with Evan Ingram. It's a plus 900. Or my favorite one, Trevor Lawrence. He has 3 rushing touchdowns. He has 3 rushing touchdowns this season. It's a plus 2,000. That's some good value. Yeah. So if you put your lunch money on it, you turn it into a pretty good payday. So those are my 3 favorite ones, but I'm really leaning towards the one that makes the most sense to me is either Devontae Adams or Travis Etienne going in for a touchdown.
I was gonna say Etienne was my mention.
Yeah, to your point about the lunch money, I mean, you can divide your lunch money up between those three and net a
Mhm.
profit if it's either one of them. So
Right.
you don't even necessarily have to choose one. I kind
Right.
of lean to the Jags first, and this is why. So I was gonna mention that if you can find a book where you can parlay a first quarter money line and a fourth quarter money line, this would be a game to maybe do that because the Jags come in fourth in first quarter scoring. Las Vegas defense is 10th, so they're not bad in the first quarter either. But
Yeah.
the Jaguars defense is second in first quarter points allowed, and Las Vegas is 19th in scoring points in the first quarter. And then you go to the fourth quarter, the Raiders are sixth in scoring. The Jags are 25th defensively, and the Jags are 21st offensively, and the Raiders are ninth defensively. So it's
There
like
you go.
it's a perfect little matchup if you find a book. I think Bet 365 might carry that where you could parlay those together. But I haven't looked too deeply into it. But because of those reasons, I do like the Jags players over the Raiders players to score the first touchdown. But I mean, I like Devontae Adams too. If the Raiders get the ball first, they drive down, they might come out with some fire. I like those picks. I guess out of those, I would probably choose Travis Etienne.
Mhm.
Yeah.
As my pick right now. None of this is like super official because we're recording this early. It's only Thursday. Game's not till Sunday. Some of these lines might move a little bit. Some other developments might happen. So, we're just throwing out ideas here. But Chad, what do you think? You got anything on player props also? And then I'll get back to you, Mike, for the rest of yours.
Yeah, well, actually, ETN was going to be the one that I was going to mention if you guys didn't get to it because he with trading Robinson, like now he's the guy, and a lot of his work is actually done catching passes out of the back, similar to Alvin Kamara. Like he's a better overall running back than his brother than Trevor is, but he's got that that receiving ability out of the backfield. But the other thing I want to say is this point that you made about Jacksonville being the lean for early. I want to remind everybody what you called for Monday night with Cleveland and Cincinnati. Now we didn't know that Cleveland was going to kick Cincinnati's ass
Yeah, it's true.
on Monday night.
Yeah.
We looked at it and we're like, this could be one of those setups, but I don't see it. No, I'm going Cincinnati, and damn, I was regretting it the whole second half. But
Whole first half too.
you,
Shit.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
yeah, well, it was. There was
It was
some,
close though.
there were
At
some
halftime,
opportunities.
Yeah.
They went back and
Yeah.
forth. It was like 0-0 for a long time. But my point is that I remind everybody of your analysis for that game where you went through the same thing of like Cincinnati sucks in the first quarter, Cleveland's good in the first quarter. So if I'm leaning anyway, it's for one of these Cleveland guys going to get it. Now, we had Kareem Hunt as our guy because it was the big money, and that's kind of like that Trevor Lawrence play. Because I think what was it, plus 1,000 or something like that we got
1,400.
for 1,400, yeah.
Yeah.
It was plus 1,000 on the free bet that I got,
Yeah,
or
on
the
BetMGM.
no,
Yeah,
the no
yeah.
sweat or whatever it was, where you got it backed up, you got the insurance.
Right.
So similarly, I would say like, yeah, take that swing at Trevor Lawrence, and if you get one of those, you get your money, the first touchdown scorer insurance.
Most of the books
You
only do
can
that
go
for the
after it.
primetime games, but I mean,
Typically,
it's
right? But
potential though.
if you can
Yeah,
find it,
see
throw that
yeah.
money at your Trevor Lawrence play, and then hedge that with Travis Etienne or one of the like Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram, something to that effect that gives you a little better odds at actually happening. Because what happened on Monday night was Kareem Hunt got a dump off right to, what did he get to, like the 2.5, 3 yard line, and he got
Yeah,
wrapped
no,
up.
they
And then
got
they
to the
brought
red
Chubb.
zone.
Then
They
they brought
gave it to
Chubb
him.
in. Yeah,
Yeah.
they
Man.
gave it to him. He got the first crack at the end zone, though. That's what I'm saying. The first crack at the end zone inside the 10-yard line was Kareem Hunt, was our
Yeah.
call for that bet.
He got
And
down
so
to the 2.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
but then ultimately Chubb ended up being the one who got the first touchdown. So if you had done plus 1,400 for Kareem Hunt and then the plus 600 for Nick Chubb, you're cash regardless.
Yeah.
So that's what I was going to say, is just to bring everybody back to that kind of strategic way of going about it, because it's one thing to try to make the call on who's the guy. It's another thing to figure out how best to manage your money as you make these plays so that you have the best chance of winning. And yeah, you might cap a little bit of your upside, but you're giving yourself a greater chance at having a better success rate.
Yeah, not
Yeah.
not losing money, which is the name of the game at the end of the
That's
day.
right.
I mean,
Yep.
I mean,
That's
you know, cashing out on the lottery picks and stuff like that is always fantastic. No one's ever going to
Mhm.
complain. But
Yeah.
you want to have sustained profits here, you got to play smart money.
Mhm.
Now I went to Mike because he called Alvin Kamara first touchdown in that game last week.
Ah.
That shit was cash. So that's why I went to him first. But I also want to mention something we also talked about, which was the tight ends versus the Raiders. Now you brought up Evan Ingram talking about the first touchdown. I think he might be a good look here because the only reason that the Saints tight end Juwan Johnson didn't get involved as we thought he would is because they didn't need to. Alvin
Yeah.
Kamara was running all over everybody.
That was
Chris
crazy.
Olave had a good amount of yards. They didn't really need to attack downfield the way that game was going, especially the whole second half was a wash in terms of passing
Yeah.
because you just didn't need to. So
Mhm.
I do like Evan Ingram, especially the past couple weeks. He's been coming on for the Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence is starting to like him as a one of his top targets. Christian Kirk has not been performing at the contract number that they got him for. And Evan Ingram has proven that he is now able to catch the ball. I guess it was a problem in New York, but he's not really dropping the ball anymore. So I do like Evan Ingram. Obviously the props aren't out yet, but on our Sunday morning show, make sure you're subscribed here because on our Sunday morning show, that's when we get into the nitty gritty and give our official props for the whole Sunday slate. But I do think I'm going to take a close look at Evan Ingram again. Anything else you got, Mike, on that?
Yeah, it makes more sense. Like if the Jaguars do get within the goal line, they get within the 2, you got a really good chance for Lawrence to try to push that in himself. So,
Mhm.
that's one thing that you're kind of banking on is it. And I do like Chad, how you do mention that, hey, you're gonna go with the guy who's the favorite, like ETN, who's
Mhm.
in the 2-yard line is probably gonna get the ball.
Mhm.
But to throw a little lottery ticket in there,
Right.
you got Trevor Lawrence for 2 yards, and which is perfect because he has 3 rushing touchdowns, and he's shown that he can do that, and they go to him for that. So this is it's just solid. It's just a solid bet.
Mhm.
Definitely. Any other player props we're keyed in on here? I mean, the biggest thing that worries me about the Raiders right now is that injury report compared to the Jags. Everybody on the Jags is they've known that they're gonna be out. You know what I mean? Like these guys are out for a couple weeks. There's nobody that's like questionable coming in this week. So like Darren Waller questionable, played last week, so we'd assume he's gonna play. They still list Devontae Adams as questionable with the illness. We know he's gonna play, but at what strength? I mean, he only had 1 catch last week. I don't know if that was just the Saints locked him down, Derek Carr not getting the ball, or if he wasn't feeling that well.
Yeah.
I don't know. Tough to call. And then Josh Jacobs, nursing that injury. What was his foot or ankle or something? I think.
Yeah.
He's still nursing that a little bit. We saw the production went down a lot last week. And then the Jags, they're pretty much healthy. Everybody that's out is out, and they've been out, so they're game planning for playing without them right now. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. You know what? If I did have to go anywhere with the Raiders, I will go with Carlson over a field goal and 1.5 field goals. I know it's not the sexy choice, but hey, that's money, and it's minus 119. And I just think that there's going to be, I wouldn't say necessarily a field goal fest, but I can see both kickers getting at least 2 in this game.
Well, I can definitely guarantee you this much: Josh McDaniels is not going to be risking another shutout if they get to a point where it's 4th and 3 on the 26-yard line. He's like, you know what? Let's get some points on the board. Damn it, we hadn't scored in a week and a half.
That's true. That could be like a first quarter thing. Like, let's get these points on the board. Yeah, I agree.
But you can't kick field goals if you never cross the 50. That's all I'm saying.
Fair enough.
So,
that's a good point.
Touche. I didn't want to say it, but
hey, it is what it is, man.
Look, I got. Well, there it is. This Tiger Stadium behind me. We got my LSU hat up. We got Alabama coming into town this weekend.
Oh yeah,
I know that feeling. The 2012 national championship game, we didn't get across midfield until like the 4th quarter either. So
man.
I know that feeling. It's a disgusting feeling. We lost 21-0. It's probably the most disruptive sequence of events in the history of LSU football. We were on a certain trajectory and we got set back light years. So I get it. Hopefully that's not the case with the Raiders and they can get the ship righted quick. I do like Devontae Adams to bounce back though. Like I think whatever he was
Derek
dealing
Carr.
with. Yeah, right. And Derek Carr too. But I think those things are kind of interwoven.
I'm just saying, like,
if he knows he can rely on
game in
Adams,
general.
yeah, exactly. Then it's going to be an easier night. But yeah, it's tough, and you start to wonder too. And Mike, I know you can probably appreciate this as a Raiders fan. When things, you've already had your bye week. You don't have there's no more moments where you can kind of regroup and gather yourself.
Yeah.
At some point, you run the risk of either this team gets hot and they carry this momentum because they're like that Major League Cleveland Indians team where they're like, we're not going to lose another game, or it becomes a dumpster fire because people start pointing the finger at each other and it's not going well. Everybody's miserable. Nobody wants to even go out, to the stadium. Nobody wants to be at practice. Shit like that happens. So it's a delicate time right now.
Yeah, and it's for the Raiders. You got those two ways that you can go, and the talks with the Raiders and Josh McDaniels and then the GM was saying that it takes time for the system get put in, and as a Raider fan, I don't want to hear that. I mean, the pieces that are there need to win now.
That ain't what they said in August.
Yeah,
there's a lot of
But they weren't saying that shit in August.
Yeah, exactly.
And
In
the
August, it
talent's
was
there.
like we're going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, they gave us a bad bill of goods as fans, and we just got to sit there and eat the shit sandwich basically.
Right.
So it's rough, but if I were to lean on what's going to happen with the Raiders is that they're going to figure it out late. They're going to finally start getting it together late, but I think it's going to be too late. I can see like an 8 or 9. This is an 8 or 9 win team on paper, but but you just never know. You never know with how it goes and how players respond to losing. So
right. I mean, there's some winnable games left on the schedule, but it's there's also some spots there where you can see like the Rams, the Seahawks aren't going to be easy. You got to go play at Mile High. You got the you're playing at the Rams, and if they get their shit together, then that's different. So you do have like Pittsburgh and New England and some other more winnable games. Indianapolis coming up next week, but yeah, it gets tough, and you still got to play Kansas City again. Still got to play the Chargers. You got to go play San Francisco. Well, San Francisco's going to LA or Las Vegas, but still, that team just got a whole lot better.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough, but it is one of those things that you never know. Like that's I've seen it before, where a team will have some games like you guys have had, where it's like, how the hell did we lose this game? How did we lose to who we lost to? And then you beat teams that you're not supposed to beat that everybody wrote you off already.
Yeah, well, I'm waiting for that moment because I haven't seen
it. They almost had it against Kansas City, man. I was like, I was pulling for it hard, man.
The one other thing I wanted to mention, and Chad kind of made a point about this very early in this show about the teams maybe getting one-dimensional kind of early, and that could line up looking at these numbers here because both of the team's strengths are matchup strengths. So the Jags are 6th in yards per rush, but Vegas is 6th defensively yards allowed per rush. The Raiders are 5th in yards per rush. The Jags defense is 4th in yards per rush allowed. So it's like that running game might get washed out by both sides. And then now we're looking at Derek Carr, Trevor Lawrence, some of those receivers and tight ends for their player props. I can't trust taking Darren Waller right now. I mean, 3 years ago, he's been on my fantasy team almost every year for the past like 4 years. And 2 years ago, I mean, it was amazing. It was amazing having him. And then in the past 2 years, it's just been like, I just traded him for like a couple pennies for a receiver I needed. And I went and got Njoku and Tyler Higbee. So like I sold on that, and I can't see myself taking him on any props until he proves something, or Derek Carr proves that he even wants to go his way. Because we know he's open here and there. He's a big body. He's getting open. You got to assume. And if you're watching the game, you can see that he's not looking his way too much, as much as in recent years. And Devontae Adams being there. So maybe stay away from that. But the tight end on the Jag side, Evan Ingram, I love that.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I think this might turn into a passing game. So we'll see how that goes. That's just my other note for the props.
On that Darren Waller thing, I'll never forget when Derek they lost the game and it was like they played like crap or whatever. But Derek Carr said, "Well, at least Darren got his catches," or something like that at the press conference, and it was just like, this is there's some bad blood going on.
There's been issues between the two, or is something not right with Darren Waller? I don't know. I'm not. I don't think he wants to play football, or he doesn't want to be in Vegas. One or the other. I don't know, but. It's something not right about him.
Something weird.
Right
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we've exhausted this game as much as Mike can handle talking about the Raiders right now.
My heart hurts, man. My heart hurts.
Yeah. I guess our probably strongest lean at the moment is everybody likes the under here, under 47 and a half.
Which means it's going to be a 65-point shootout.
Exactly.
Right.
Oh, shit, man.
And then we mentioned some other player props, but of course, Sunday morning we'll lock those in as we see fit, where we actually want to, completely back them. But that was a nice little game analysis about how we think the game's going to go, where you should be looking to put your money, and that first touchdown score. If Trevor Lawrence hits that shit, man, we're just going to have to do a special show where we bring Mike on and he calls the first touchdown for every game on the slate.
That's right.
Because
that and if you could tell us, all right, who is going to go over 100 total yards and 2 touchdowns this week, or possibly 3 touchdowns?
Exactly.
We want to go to the window with that shit, like we should have done with Alvin Kamara last week.
Yeah.
We didn't do it. Who you got? Who's doing it this week?
Well, we're talking about the Chargers and Falcons. So
okay, we're gonna go to that one.
I got one.
You got one.
I got one for you for that one.
All right,
sounds good. That's a nice little sneak peek.
Just,
so check out our next episode, and we'll be doing Chargers and Falcons.
Right.
And Mike has a nice first touchdown score for you in that game. What were you gonna say, Chad?
I was gonna say, so real quick. So I just figured out what I'm gonna name my computer model. It's called the dog catcher. So that's what I'm gonna call it.
Nice. I like
It has identified in the last 3 weeks 9 NFL underdogs that should have been favorites. Those nine underdogs that should have been favorites are 6-3 using this model. The Jaguars are one of them this week. So I'm just putting that out there. I kind of tend to agree. Obviously 6-3. That means 3 out of 9. 33% are losing. I think this could be one of them because it's really, really tight. But I just had to put that out there that this model that's 6-3 picking dogs, you got to bet them all. Otherwise, you end up picking the wrong one if you try to pick and choose. So just throwing that out there.
Exactly. But hit that subscribe button if you made it to the end with us here, and hit that like button as well. Tune in to the rest of our episodes this week, and let's cash these bets. Peace.